Hey guys, it's Jen. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to Homes That Heal. Before I get into today's Ask Jen session, I want to remind you about a special gift I have for you. I created a home wellness checklist so that it's easy to get started on designing your own sanctuary space. Fall is upon us, and it's the perfect time to declutter, organize, clean out the closets and cobwebs to create more peace in your life. I absolutely love this time of year. It's honestly one of my favorites. I feel so good when I get to let go of a few things, plus maybe make room for some new. So if you're looking for inspiration and actionable ways you can get started and bring more wellness into your home, I bundled my favorite tips, tools, and techniques so you can transform and harmonize your life. It's fun, it's easy, and it's patiently waiting for you over at jenhellerlifestyle.com. Also, with kids going back to school, cooler temps setting in, and a desire to detox, many of you have inquired about sauna information, and I don't blame you. It's a fabulous time to get back to basics and healthier routines, and a sauna is a fantastic way to not only shed some unwanted pounds and stress, but it truly is like having a wellness center in your home. Many of you have heard me say this over the years, and I just think it can be a very beneficial tool for you to bring into your home. If you're curious to learn more about which brand I trust and which one is right for you, you can find all the details plus how to connect directly with me on the jenhellerlifestyle.com site. If you decide to call Clearlight directly instead of chatting with me, just be sure to let them know Jen Heller sent you for special pricing and a free gift. Are you struggling with low energy, weight gain, hormonal imbalances, or heavy metal and mold toxicity? Do you want to learn more about anti-aging tips and creating more longevity in your life? Well, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jen Heller, a wellness educator, infrared sauna expert, and home health consultant. In this podcast, Homes That Heal, I will teach you how to transform your home into a health and wellness sanctuary. Your health is your wealth, and I believe that your home should be your sanctuary space, loaded with the tools you need to thrive in your life, not just survive. If you want to feel fantastic and transform your life and home, grab a pen, let's dive in and create a home that heals. Okay, so speaking of saunas, let's dive into today's questions. Number one, probably the most important and common question I get asked: what is the difference between an infrared sauna and a traditional sauna? Great question, and I'm glad you all asked. Both are beneficial with tremendous wellness and therapeutic benefits. Honestly, heat therapy is not new. It's been around for centuries, and it's widely known for relaxation, detoxification, and its relation to lowering all-cause mortality in general. A lot of great studies out there. There's a Finnish study. I don't remember what year it was published. What was great about it, though, is that it was a large group of people. It wasn't just a 20 or 30 person study. It was like 2,300 people, and it was over the course of several years. And the statistics that came out of that study were just really, really staggering in the sense of it just confirmed and validated what heat therapy can do for your health and well-being. So I encourage you to dig into that. Very easy to find on Google. I actually think it might even be in one of my blog posts somewhere, but do check that out if you want to learn a little bit more about the actual statistics. Typically speaking, for that particular study, if I recall, it was sauna use 3 to 4 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes to lower your risk. I think it was 61%. So very beneficial. Okay, so let's get into the differences. The first one is basically just infrared is a dry heat versus traditional is what we call a steam or hot rocks, and has that heavy, hard to breathe humidity. So typically speaking, an infrared sauna is going to be much more comfortable just in general. And one of the beautiful things about it is you can control the temperature. So if you've ever seen an infrared sauna, you know that it has a control gauge on it. You can set the temp, the timer, the lights, the music. It really is kind of like, an a la carte experience, if you will. But I will say some days I'm in the mood to really crank it up and have a deep sweat session. And other days I'm more relaxation or just want to have that warmth to the core. It really just depends on my mood. A few days ago, actually, I was in the sauna, and I always pair my workout routine or my yoga routine, whatever my movement is. Oftentimes I'll pair that with my sauna for the day, movement first and then sauna. And I realized after about 20 minutes in the sauna, like I must not have drank enough water. I felt a bit dehydrated and I just felt a little bit like not myself or not as able to tolerate the heat. And I actually turned it down and opened the door a few times. And I got out a bit early, like 5, 10 minutes early, because as I always say, you just have to honor your body. But generally speaking, infrared saunas are so much lower in temperature, typically like 100 to 150 degrees. 150 is pretty hot. We usually recommend upwards of, most people are in that sweet spot between 125 and 145 or 140, I would say. But a traditional sauna is like 170 to 200 degrees. And again, if you've ever been in it, and if you're a heat warrior like me, I love saunas of all kinds, but many people do not tolerate that humidity or that hot rock heat very well. It's uncomfortable, heavy, hard to breathe, not exactly relaxing. And it actually can cause a lot more stress to the body. And that's not ideal, especially for someone who's looking for some of those heart health benefits or stress. It's not really an ideal situation to be sitting in an environment where you feel like you're gasping for air or that it's more stressful on the body. And that kind of moves into the next piece of it, which is the heat in an infrared sauna. It's heating the core body temperature. So it's an invisible light energy. I like to use the analogy of the sun. We all know what it feels like to be standing in the radiant sun. So it's like the sun, but without the dangerous UV rays, of course. It actually penetrates into the skin and muscle tissue. And the idea and the premise is to heat the core body temperature a few degrees. So you sweat and detox from the inside out versus a traditional sauna, which is heating the airspace. So it's heating the room that you're in. I always like to say it's like a hot box or a hot airspace, but it basically stops at skin surface level. So it's not going to penetrate into the body, although it's hot and you're going to sweat because our body's natural way of responding to a heated, something where you're hot, a heated space, is it's going to sweat. So both are going to kind of get you to the sweating experience. It's just infrared is designed to tap in to our fat cells, our bloodstream, and into the toxicity to draw out, as well as elevate core temperature. So again, the sun is probably one of my favorite analogies because when you're standing outside in the sun, you feel that radiant warmth. And let's say you're in 80-degree temperature, right? If you move over underneath a tree or an umbrella or just anywhere in the shade, you're still in 80-degree temperature. You're just no longer in the direct sun. So it feels different and you're a little bit cooler or a little bit more tolerable. But that's essentially how infrared works, is that it taps into the bodies and you feel that radiant heat. It's very relaxing, puts the body into parasympathetic nervous system. So it takes you kind of out of that fight or flight mode. The tiger isn't chasing you anymore, and it's designed to relax the body, relax the mind, and put it into a harmonious place and space so that it can heal or work on anything that you're hoping to work on. So when you're looking in an infrared sauna, a lot of people want to understand, how does it heat you? So when you're looking in an infrared sauna and you see those black panels on the walls, now I'm going to speak to a clear light sauna because that's who I know and trust. That's what I use. And generally speaking, most reputable infrared sauna companies have similar panels on the walls. But let's talk about clear light because they're the best. Anyway, the black panels on the walls, that's what's actually doing the work. Those are the heaters. They're safe to touch. You can sit right up against them, but that's where the heat's coming from. It's a total 360 all the way around you. So it's heating the body on all sides, as well as, on your legs. There's also in-floor heating. So again, we're talking about heating the body in the core temperature. Whereas in a traditional sauna, whether it's the steam or it's one of those stoves that's just heating the air, or it's the rocks with water on the top, essentially what you're doing is you're heating the airspace. So you're going into just a hot environment. There's just one heating element, one heating source, so to speak. Okay, so the next note I have here is just a note about kiddos. Now, do know the disclaimer on this is not a blanket statement by any stretch, but infrared saunas are more safe for kiddos than they would be in a traditional sauna. I am not a doctor. I do not claim to be one, obviously. However, infrared at lower temperatures than what an adult would be, of course, it is fantastic for boosting their little immune systems, as well as just the light energy can be powerful. Now, do check with a practitioner or somebody that you're working with. This all depends on age and all the things. But in general, kiddos are safe to be And again, I'm going to speak to Clearlight because I know the safety and the reputation. Other brands, not so much when it comes to EMF levels and some other safety concerns. But in general, kiddos are okay to be in a sauna, but do check. You can always email me, but also just check with somebody you trust and a trusted resource on the time and the temperature that would be right for your children. The next note I have here is really just in and around, I already hit on this a bit. It's about the health benefits and the detoxification. So again, heat therapy been around for a long time, very beneficial, both kinds. However, infrared, because of the way that it taps into the skin and muscle tissue, the detoxification is a bit more effective versus a traditional. And that's because it penetrates the skin and entering into the body versus just heating the airspace. And many of you know my story already. How I discovered infrared saunas was because I was heavy metal toxic. I was burdened with mercury and lead, and it had crossed the blood-brain barrier. I needed to find a safe infrared sauna to detox those metals. And infrared is one of the most effective ways to detoxify the body of mold or metals or carcinogens, just due to the level of effectiveness by getting in and tapping into our fat cells and where these toxins and chemicals like to hang out. Okay. And the last thing I want to mention too is just kind of a logistics thing. And again, this is a question that I get asked about, should I get a traditional sauna, a barrel sauna, or infrared, like they're on the fence? Again, really just depends on what your needs are and what feels good to you. But from a maintenance standpoint, it's interesting how convenient. And people are so surprised when I let them know, like, hey, infrared is electric, plugs into a wall outlet. Many of the saunas plug right into a standard wall outlet, which is nice. So you don't even have to make any upgrades in your electrical box. But it really is just like a piece of furniture that plugs into a wall outlet. Maintenance is very low key. The costs are very low key. They're usually run about 25, 35 cents per hour. And do know that they're not always on, like a traditional sauna usually needs to heat up for a long time. Infrared saunas heat up in like 30 minutes, and then you get in and you're in the sauna 30 to 45 minutes, whatever suits you, and then you shut it off. But they're like a blip on the radar as far as cost goes. You don't even usually know that you have it unless you're running a business out of your home or you invited your entire neighborhood and family and friends over and it's on, multiple hours for multiple days a week. Yeah, you probably recognize and notice that. But I ran a sauna studio for many years. I know exactly how much these cost. I know exactly what the maintenance is on them. And it's very low. I would say anywhere between $5 and $10 a month, basically, for average use. And that's if you're using it 3 to 4 times a week. So very low cost. Maintenance and cleaning is super easy versus a traditional sauna where there's moisture and steam and, potential breeding ground for bacteria growth and mold. They tend to be much more of an energy sucker because they take a lot more to heat the airspace. I've even heard over the years, a lot of people have given me feedback on homeowners are having issues with insurance companies wanting to insure them because the old school style heaters and steam are not ideal in a home. So it's just in general. Plus, if you move, you can take the infrared sauna apart and take it with you just like you would any other piece of furniture. So the investment to get one in your home is much lower and it's much more conducive if you move or you want to switch out the room that it's in. Whereas a traditional sauna is generally, a full room that you're setting up. So I know that's a lot. Hopefully you got all that, took some notes. These will all be in the show notes if you need to come back to it. Plus the jenhellerlifestyle.com website has this information as well. But that's pretty much the nuts and bolts between an infrared and a traditional is that different kind of heat, much lower in temperature, more relaxation, easier on the wallet, and much easier to maintain. So that's the lowdown there. Temperature range, I already did mention this, but 100 degrees. I know a lot of people that do lower temperatures. So I'm going to say 100 to 150. That's a pretty wide range. Do know that the sweet spot for most people, though, is anywhere between 115 and 135. I'm a heat warrior. I usually set my sauna to like 130, 135, and then I get in it and then I bump it up to like 145. I like that little bit hotter range. The key too is to keep those heaters on so that you're always getting the infrared. That's what's optimal. If you set it to 130 and you wait till it is 130 degrees to get in, it's going to idle there. So it's going to kick on and kick off to keep those heaters at that same temp So when the heaters are off, now you're just sitting in a hot box, just like a traditional style, so to speak. So the key is to get in and have those heaters on so that you can really maximize the benefits. And again, these are just ranges as far as temps. If you've never been in infrared sauna, my encouragement is always go low and slow, ease into it, maybe a 20 or 30-minute session versus 30 to 45. Obviously, I've been doing sauna therapy for 15 plus years at this point, and I've kind of just found what works well for me. So it's different for everybody, and you always have to listen and honor your body. And then last question, how often do I use my sauna? That's just a personal question that was pointed at me. 3 to 4 times a week. I pretty much treat it like my workout, and I always typically pair it with my workout. Some days it is my workout, to be honest, but I don't do it every day. Sometimes I would say 2 or 3 times a year, I'll go a whole month where I'll sauna and cold plunge every single day. Like I cold plunge pretty much every day now. It's the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, but I don't sauna every day. But I'm a 3 to 4 week person on the sauna, with the exception of the months where I choose where I go sauna and cold plunge every day. And I feel freaking fantastic on those months, to be quite honest. I should probably do it every day. It's just not realistic or conducive to my schedule. But I typically in the fall and in the spring do a month where I do every day. Mark usually joins me on that, and we just like hammer that out. And then sometimes in January, February, I'll do it too, just kind of after holidays or whatever's going on. It kind of is usually planned in around my travel, and I sometimes have travel in January, so it might be February, but I like to space it out in the spring and the fall with a detoxification. And just as the seasons ebb and flow, our bodies are kind of follow those same primal cycles, or at least mine does. And that's how I feel about it, is I feel really good when I kind of kick off the spring and the fall with a little bit more intention. So in general, again, both infrared and traditional saunas and heat therapy are overall designed to create optimal health and performance. So it's just whatever method feels good to you. Both can be great and a great addition to your wellness routines. But as you know, I prefer infrared due to its ability to tap into the skin and muscle tissue more effectively. As I mentioned earlier, I was heavy metal toxic and needed to lose a lot of weight. I'm sure many of you have seen the lovely before and after photo that lives on my website. I lost about 125 pounds, so almost roughly half my body weight. This was many years ago, but much of that weight loss, or at least the wheel to get that going, was used through infrared sauna. So I can tell you that the rate of burning calories is no joke. It certainly tapped into the fat cells and started that process, kind of boosted that metabolism and got that process going for me. So I'll do another show on the specific benefits another time. Plus, you're welcome to bounce over to my site and dig a little deeper. And as always, please feel free to send me a note if you have specific questions. Okay, last, I always like to end with a testimonial. And today I am going to read a note that I received from Jeff from Florida. Jen, I am writing to you today to tell you how much I love my sauna and how it's changed my life. First and foremost, as you know, I'm a career firefighter and have battled cancer twice in my life. I bought my sauna to not only help me with chronic aches and pains, but to also detoxify my body from the toxic overload I take on every day in hopes I stay in front of another health crisis. I want to tell you, I use my sauna every day, and within the first week, the pain in my lower back and shoulders is nearly non-existent. That nagging issue has been a problem for me for almost 20 years. Also, I am sleeping 6 to 7 hours straight without waking up. I'm finally getting a good night's sleep. Prior to the sauna, I can't recall the last time I slept through the night. It's been long overdue. And last, but definitely not least, my mental health has greatly improved, something I'm not only grateful for, but my wife, my kids, and grandkids are too. Thank you for taking the time to answer all my questions and help me with this investment. You are a one of a kind. P.S. You are right. I'm going to need to buy a lot of white towels. So just a quick note on those towels, that's just due to the toxicity that can pour out of the skin. White towels, as you've heard on another show, is the best to use just because of the dyes in the colored towels. But when your body is releasing a lot of toxic burden, and a firefighter with the soot and the different carcinogens that they can be exposed to, it can do a number on the towels. But trust me when I tell you, the white is the best, as well as just having your own bundle of towels that are just sauna towels is the best. So that's just a little extra note there. So thank you, Jeff. I'm so, so, so happy for you. And I'm sending you all sorts of love and hugs to you and your family. And I'm really happy to hear your beautiful testimony. So thank you for sharing. Thanks again for tuning into my show. I hope you got something out of the sauna conversation today. If you're interested to learn more or want to connect, feel free to hop over to my site, jenhellerlifestyle.com, and send me a note. I'm happy to help you get a sauna in your home or business anytime. Also, thank you for rating and reviewing the show, plus sharing with your peeps. It means the world to me, and I absolutely love reading your feedback. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be in your ear each week and to be able to share these important messages. Wishing you abundant health and happiness, my friends. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. This helps me expand my reach to other health and wellness enthusiasts. If you're interested in purchasing a Clearlight sauna, have a topic request, or just want to connect with me, please head over to my site, jenhellerlifestyle.com.